So the Clippers are back. They're serious, and it seems as if like they're going to be a championship contending team. As I record this video, they just knocked out the Atlanta Hawks. They are now 26-5 since the beginning of December. And there's a lot to talk about with this franchise because it does seem as if like heading into the postseason, second half of the year, seems like they're definitely a little bit more serious than a lot of people give them credit for. Now, me personally, especially if you see me in my other channels, regardless of what the haters want to say, bro, I never bought into the idea, the agenda, the propaganda that many people try to push about this Los Angeles Clippers team, how they're going to be struggling just because they added James Harden, how they try to bring down that man's name because he's on the roster. I personally knew that it was going to take a little bit longer time than just a handful of games. I knew it was going to take a little bit more reps. I knew it was going to be a second. It was going to be a while since they pieced it together, and it seems like as of late they have been sensational, remarkable, and they seem almost unbeatable. It's actually pretty crazy. As I record this video, for the season, they are 4th in offensive rating. They are 10th in defensive rating with the 3rd best net rating in the league. They also have a top 3 record in the Western Conference, and they have quickly and surely moved up to the ranks where they are really, really close. They're only a game or game and a half behind the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. There is a possibility within a handful of more games, the Clippers could find themselves at the top of the West, looking down upon everybody else as a lot of these things have really started to manifest and piece themselves together. Statistically, however, this is where things get even crazier because in the beginning of the season, Kawhi was struggling pretty mightily. Tonight, he actually just had another really great game. He put up 36 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, shooting 65% from the field against the Atlanta Hawks. Then you had James Harden, who also had a great game as well, 30 and 10 with 7 rebounds, 50%. In the last 10 games, they are 9-1. However, in particular with Kawhi, because this is something that was really, really concerning with me, and I think a lot of other people, he started out the season really slow, but now, not including the last game, but in the 24 games prior to tonight, bro, he's been averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 57% from the field, 50% from behind the arc, and 93% from the charity stripe. He has been hooping out of his mind. That right there is one of the biggest keys to this team being successful. Kawhi Leonard looking like one of the top 10 to 7 players in the NBA because in the beginning of the season, he was not. He's been healthy, he's been unstoppable, and he has not been having to carry the offensive load as much as he had to in prior seasons because he has someone like James Harden on the roster. As we stated before, tonight against the Atlanta Hawks, James Harden was sensational, 30 points and 10 assists. But let's see what Harden has been posting up in the last, 20-some games himself. So since the beginning of the calendar year, Harden has been averaging 16 points, nearly 10 assists, 5 rebounds. The turnovers have been all the way down at 2.5 turnovers a game, something that Harden normally doesn't do. He's not known for that. He turns the ball over a lot, but it seems like he's benefiting from his passing and playmaking with the reduced offensive load himself. Shooting splits, at least from the field, isn't the greatest, but he's still knocking down his 3-point shots, shooting 39% with a long ball on 7 attempts, and still getting to the charity stripe respectable amount with 4 attempts and 89% from the free throw line. Adding Harden to this team has been a difference maker because he's basically opened up everything for this team. He's taken off the responsibility of passing and playmaking from Kawhi and PG because leading up to this season, they've been playing pseudo point guard positions and pseudo playmaking roles. It's worked out in some capacity, but obviously they're not the greatest at it. Harden has inserted himself into these conversations. He has been fantastic when playing this role, and the addition to the roster has made everything much more easier for everyone else. Obviously, we've seen with Kawhi, his numbers are ridiculous, but I want to say even Paul George. To be fair to PG, however, PG, he was balling before this happened. I know for a fact Zubac's numbers across the board have been looking great. I think Zubac is having a career year field goal percentage wise. Yeah, this is the highest field goal percentage for Zubac, shooting 65% from the field, grabbing nearly 10 rebounds in under 27 minutes of play, also recording 12 points. Actually, a career year across the board for Zubac. Zubac is playing only 27 minutes, career high in points, 12, second career high in rebounding at 9.6, almost 10, and tied for his career high in blocks, 1.3. That right there is undeniably that's the Harden effect right there. The pick and rolls, the pocket passes from Harden to Zubac, he's been looking much better than what he normally does. And I want to say, if we look at the 25 games that the last 25 games that Zubac has been playing, large part with Harden on the floor, 13 and 10 in 27-28 minutes, with shooting almost 68% from the field. That's crazy. Jesus, Zubac. Man, he's an ex-Laker too, man. Oh my God, I'm sick. I know he wouldn't be this good with the Lakers, but Yeah, Jesus, man. Just another player that the Lakers gave up on. Makes me sick. But like I said before, even Paul George, this season he has been really, really good. PG, he's been averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 to 4 assists, shooting splits of 46, 41, 91 as well. I think the scoring load from Paul George has gone down a lot because of the addition of James Harden, but the accuracy has probably been much better, and it seems like it has since the middle of December. PG still averaging around 23 points, but the shooting splits of 48% from the field, 43% from behind the arc, and 89% from the free throw line. All of those numbers have just been great. So as of late, this team has been really, really fantastic. But there are two things that I have to highlight and I have to give credit to. And I'm not going to sit here and say I called it, because I knew this was going to be the best situation for this young man. But the way that he has been playing under this regime on the bench, you got to give him credit. And it is Russ. I think Russ, in the games in which I've seen from him, his numbers don't necessarily show the full impact. He's accepted a bench role because there was a lot of conflict once Harden came to the team about who's starting, who's not. He's accepted the bench role. He's moved on to the reserves. He's coming off the bench, and he's been really, really productive. Again, the numbers may not show how productive he has been for the season. He's averaging 11 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, again, effectively coming off the bench, but the effort and the defense is what's there. And I think even as a Laker fan, when he was playing for the Lakers, that is something that was a bit more consistent, especially with him being much more interactive defensively. And coming off the bench for this team, he's added a lot of more defensive pieces to his game to make him more potent and still productive. The three-point shot still isn't there. That's still fine. They don't really need him to shoot threes because they are a really well-rounded, floor-spaced out team. So he gets to the basket when he wants to. The finishing, again, isn't there either, but he still finds ways to be productive while being the secondary ball handler and playmaker when Harden is off the floor. And again, being a really good on-ball defender when need be. But the other aspect of it is defensively. The things that this team does defensively with the switching, it's back in full effect, especially when they play small ball. Since Christmas, the Los Angeles Clippers, they have not only the number 1 ranked offense with an offensive rating of 123, but also a top 10 defense as well, the 7th ranked defense with a net rating that is 10.2. That's only falling behind the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are also on a tear. Cleveland is like 15 or 14-1 in the last 15 games, and also the New York Knicks. But the Clippers have been the best team in the Western Conference since the Christmas break, and they've continuously add on to it. You look at the rest of their roster, you look at what they have, and a lot of things are falling for them. Not Norman Powell also playing really, really great. They probably can add a little bit more depth inside because that's still going to be a problem for them. But if the Clippers are playing this well, they've been putting up these type of numbers, they're going to be fantastic. Defensively, they figured a lot of things out with the rotations, with the switching, with the all-around play, and defensively, I think is what has really put them over the top. Obviously, offensively, they were going to be great. I don't think nobody really questioned who they were going to be offensively. It was the fact that adding James Harden to the team while losing a lot of those perimeter players that they relied on defensively, and Nick Batum and Rocco, what was it going to look like adding Harden to the roster? And they have not lost a step defensively. They're still all the way there. I think this, again, goes to the fact of taking a lot of offensive responsibility off of Kawhi and Paul George and allowing James Harden to operate and handle offense while still being a more than qualified scoring option as well. That has opened up the fact that we have 2 players who are great wing defenders when they can preserve a lot of that energy and utilize it accordingly. Even watching tonight's game against the Atlanta Hawks, Kawhi was still, when need be, he can sit in that chair and stand in front of someone like DeJounte Murray, who has been on a tear himself. So that is something that has been a difference maker. That is something that has really aided this team, and they finally got the ball handler and playmaker that they desperately needed, that now has translated to a level of success that, in my opinion, I actually believe that they are legitimate contenders. When you look at the rest of the Western Conference, OKC is going to give them problems because of Chet, but I don't know if Shea's going to really get off the way that he would normally get off. Minnesota is also going to give some problems because of the interior presence with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, but everything else they have answers for. Jokic is still going to be a problem for them all around, but for the rest of the conference, I think they match up really, really good with them. The rest of the conference doesn't have that much size outside the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron, but we don't even know if they're going to necessarily make a deep postseason run to potentially match up with them. But outside of them, they match up well with basically 80% of the conference. And even though Chet is going to be a problem, he's still young. I would like to see what he looks like in playoff basketball. And then I'm not the biggest believer in Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns front court, especially when Towns plays more perimeter oriented. I think they can throw somebody out there like Kawhi on him and get a bit more physical and make him into a passer. So I think even that won't be that much of a problem. But Denver obviously is a team to beat. You still are basically going into that series without an answer for Jokic. So that's going to be interesting to see. That's something that they've been struggling with over the past like 3 or 4 years now. But outside of that, bro, the Clippers, I have to give them them credit, bro. They have been great. They have been phenomenal. They have been sensational. I feel sorry for the people who did not believe in this team or overreacted after the first 5 games of adding James Harden to the roster. Couldn't be me, though. But I do feel sorry for you because this probably is taking you by surprise, but not me. I didn't think they were necessarily going to be this good. But nah, man, the Clippers, there's something. They are big business. There's something that you have to deal with, something you have to take care of, something you have to question, because they have been sensational and great basically ever since the mark of December, beginning of December until now. They have been easily one of the best teams in the NBA. To be honest with you, outside of the Nuggets, the only thing that's really stopping the Clippers from being where they need to be is health at this point. I think they match it really well with everyone else. It will be interesting to see how this team is looking moving forward, but I think that's probably the biggest difference maker this season than any other season. Kawhi so far has played 44, well tonight he played 45 out of the 49 games so far this season. James Harden has been available for 44 games as well. PG's been available for 46, and Russ and Norman Powell, all of them have been available for over 49, almost 50 games so far, and we're about the 50 game mark. So the biggest question and concern outside of interior presence has always been injuries and health concern, and probably the biggest factor, the biggest difference maker is that we are heading into the All-Star break, and this is probably the healthiest this team has looked since 2020. And they have 4 future Hall of Famers, 3 of which I believe playing at an All-Star level at bare minimum. I could damn near argue 3 of which are playing at a weak All-NBA level, definitely with PG and Harden. But again, Kawhi being this healthy, playing this great, turning it around, especially as of late over the past month or so of basketball, that to me was the biggest question mark, because heading into the stretch of games when they added James Harden, it still looks pretty questionable that he still had to be and play at a top 7 to 10 level almost every single night for them to win. That has not necessarily been the case, but it is interesting. It's also very impressive, actually, because I didn't think Kawhi at this age would still be able to produce at this level with him dealing with his injuries. But it is very important and interesting to see how Kawhi continues to weather the storm and man the ship heading into the playoffs. And if he continues to play at this level, I don't know, bro. It's kind of hard to deny how good the Clippers are. But yo, y'all let me know in the comment section below. I know this sounds a little bit low energy, but man, I'm a Laker fan, and even I have to admit the Clippers have been looking great. They've been looking great. They've been looking fantastic. Don't count out the Clippers just because they had Harden on the team. I thought the people who did that were very, very foolish. But here we are now, heading into February, deep February, heading into the playoffs, and they look just as good as any other team in the entire league. So, yo, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. Until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.